TikTok, it's time to rock. It's the Sunday show. It's my pleasure, as usual, ladies and gentlemen, to be here with the three coolest dudes, at least in our neighborhood. I wasn't gonna say internet or YouTube or anything like that, but neighborhood. I'll take the neighborhood tag any day. What about you, Brad? You'll take the neighborhood label?
I'll take
Surely.
it. I'll take
the neighborhood
Professor?
Label. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the way.
We're all about
That's the way. We're legends in our own neighborhoods.
in our own minds, in our own lunchtimes.
No, neighborhood. We got you on record saying neighborhood. So that's what happens when you're a nice person. People look up to you in your neighborhood. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be with, seriously, the Sunday Show crew, myself. Downstairs, we've got the Rock Professor all the way from the UK. Brad, still in lockdown. Melbourne, my gosh. What's happening in lockdown, Melbourne, brother?
What's happening? Oh, lots of stuff, mate. Lots of stuff. Mainly
illegal.
Walk to the front door, open it, make sure it's locked, lock it again, come to the back door, open that, lock it again. Can venture out 5 kilometers, but can't go any further than that. Come home and make sure I'm home before 9 o'clock. All good. That's me.
Oh,
yep. Where is it?
Look, we had to ask the question, brother. We had to ask the question because we care. We do, honest to God, we do care for you, brother.
Oh, I know. How's things for yourself there, Andrew?
Look, I'm good. Fine. We're at level 3, so we're back to work. So I'm going to make my lunch and go to work like a good boy tomorrow, which is really, really good. I'm looking forward to that. And the Rock Professor, are you back at work or are you still larking about on holiday?
What do you mean back at work? I've never not been at work. I did have 2 weeks off, but I went back last week. Yeah. 4 days last week because we had bank holiday. So, yes, we in contrast are back to normal. But it's quite hairy, actually. It is actually quite hairy.
Really?
But, yeah, it is actually, it's quite weird. Everything's gone back to normal and things. But,
yeah,
I'm still keeping out of the way and still, doing the things I've done for the last 18 months to keep myself out of trouble. Managing so far. We've chained the kids up a bit so before they go back to school. So, but yeah, they go back to school next week. So back to danger area. But they've all had it, so they should.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. That's good. Well, it's good to see that everybody is back on for the Sunday show, and despite all the difficulties that we're all experiencing, and it's not just us here on the panel. I'm sure everybody on the chat's going through some strange and interesting times, but look, we're not going to talk too much about that. We're here to talk about rock and roll. We're here to talk about great music. We're here to push our social media accounts. Look, I know that you guys get sick and tired of hearing about this, but we wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't reminding people about some of the goals that we've got in place. On the bottom there, you'll see some Instagram accounts that are really, really important. I see the Rock Professor is pulling finger and he's getting his Instagram account out. Brad's on there. Check Brad out. He's like I said a couple of shows ago, he's taking you on nature walks as well. So you can find Brad out in nature, in his studio, doing lots of things as well. We've got, I happen to have, which is a very good friend of the channel, Michael also, and I think we've got tagged on the bottom there all the way from Melbourne. Hoss is there too, isn't he?
Yeah, Hoss, yeah.
Shouts out to Simon. Big shouts out to Simon. And while we're at it, shouts out to Warren, our good friend Warren.
Yeah, morning, Warren. Hope you're good, mate.
Yep, hope you're tuning in and watching. We wish you all the best, mate. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and can't wait to do some things with you moving forward, mate. If that keeps you positive, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother.
Shall I say good morning to the people in the chat?
Yeah, let's
good
do
morning
it.
to the Dogper. Morning, the Dogper.
We got someone there. Are people there in the chat?
Yeah, people are there. Mark Tanner.
Holy cow.
I know. Mark Tanner, Ellen, Orishine, morning, Ellen. Arvin, of course. Good morning, Arvin. Hope you're good. Teresa, good morning, Teresa. I've got a question for you later, Teresa. We'll see. Cool Music Tech, who I think is a fellow UK person. Cool Music Tech.
He sure is. He was on the end of week show. Actually, that show's renamed called what's that show called now? The midweek show? The Brodown.
The Brodown. That's right. Ho down with the Brodown.
The Brodown. That's funny. The Brodown.
Oh dear. You guys, honestly, yeah. And go, Brad, go you, Mr. Philip Sace, getting broed up. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Actually, had another quick chat to him this morning, which was pretty cool. So
really,
he's talking about wire pedals. So I just asked him a couple of questions in relation to, where to set the pot with the wire and things like that. So that was a cool little chat. But he's really cool. He's a great guy. So
it's
and
fantastic.
we always give him a bit of a shout out on our channel. So if you're not up with who Philip Sace is, go and check out his Instagram. It'll take you to all the So awesome.
Well, it's nice to you developing a relationship with him and kind of that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, it feels good, because someone whom I've always admired, and the backstory obviously to releasing my EP, he was just that little extra push just to go boom when I heard Spirit Rising. So we love Philip Sace here. So that's great to start to form a friendship, which is fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Talking about my Bet Noir fuzz. I don't like fuzz. I've been the what is that camp.
I've got some pretty cool tricks that might make you change your mind. We might do a little bit of a show on fuzzes and running them basically different and trying different things. And
I think that might be cool for a midweek show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Just persuading Simon that fuzz is all right.
That's what we'll call it. Persuading the rock professor that fuzz is a good pedal. Fuzz
might be all right.
So
I've listened to lots of people trying to persuade me that Mick and Dan from that pedal show. And every time they do fuzz, my heart sinks. Because I'm such an idiot. Oh dear. It's my own fault.
Yeah, so we're the midweek show is called, what are we naming it, Andrew? What's it called? The Brodown.
The Brodown.
Yeah, Nelson's renamed it that because he was first into the show after it went on, and he said, I think it should be called the Brodown. And I was like, man,
he's such a het gap,
we're gonna pinch that hashtag Brodown.
Hashtag Brodown.
Never a skip.
Oh,
hashtag Brodown. The Brodown.
10 out of 10. Oh my gosh, we have a bit of fun here, don't we? And it's always good, and that's one of the great things that we do here on the show. We like to include everybody in the chat, and I'm going to make this quite clear that if you guys are here participating with us now at this level where the channel currently is, it's great. I watch some other shows. There are huge channels, and you see a lot of people in the chat. And the hosts make a couple of good points when they do their shows. They acknowledge everybody in the chat by just saying hi to everyone in the chat because, they can't possibly go through and name everybody. And we want to be at that stage for a lot of reasons. only because the main reason because the rock professor thinks that we've got something great to talk about. We talk about a great record once a week, or a great band, and we're just doing what we like to do, isn't it, Rock Professor?
Yeah. I want to know.
Bullshit
I
about
want to know.
music.
Cool Music Tech. Is this you? Is this you in disguise? Perhaps not. I don't think I would do that one.
Goodness. My goodness.
That ain't me,
funny,
brother.
that Do you know what? I thought it probably wasn't.
My goodness.
Fast Eddie's here. We've got Fast Eddie in the chat. Good to see you, brother. Been a long
Yeah.
time.
John
We've got
said
Nightbot in here
D351.
too.
Yeah, Philip Byers. Morning, Philip. Yeah, John ZD351. Morning, John. Hope you're good. Yeah.
So if anyone here in the chat is not subscribed, make sure you do. Please subscribe. We've got a bit of a goal happening, and we're trying to get to what did we say? We're going to get up to, Andrew. What was the number we're going to get up to? Where are we at now?
681.
681. We're going to get up to 700, and we're going to
680 actually. Somebody's desubscribed. Find them, hunt them down.
They're lost. They're lost. So yeah, we're going to be doing a giveaway at 700.
Yeah.
And basically, what we're going to get you guys to do is help us share the channel, help us get up to 700. And as a thank you, we're going to do a little giveaway. But the announcement, what we're going to be giving away, will be on Kurt S5150's Instagram page, and then we're going to share it in our stories. So, Kurt, if you're watching this back, whenever that may be, brother, you've got a job. You've got to do a little post, and then we're all going to share it. And, yeah, it's going to be a cool pet. It's going to be cool. I nearly gave it away what it was then.
Yeah, no. We can't
Oh, loose
I'm the
tongues
giveawayer.
cost lives.
Yeah.
Can you cut that bit out, Andrew? You can cut
Sink
that bit out.
ships.
You can cut that bit
Don't
out.
you get us into trouble?
Look at that. Oh, teetering on the edge.
All right. Let's move on. Let's get away from it. Yeah, so we need you guys to help us. We're a small channel, but we're a mighty channel, and we want to keep growing. And we can only do it with your help. So we appreciate every single one of you guys in the chat.
Yeah. Well. Before we get on to the subject, I just want to reinforce a little bit about what we were saying, Rock Professor, on the bro down on Friday. You know, and you caught it. I think you were in the chat for a little while. You know, all
I had to do some work. People kept phoning me up. It's like, I'm busy. I'm busy doing this. Stop that now. Yeah, people at work phoning me up.
Yeah.
But one of the great things that we like to do on this channel, obviously, is, prepare ourselves, and we come on board, and we pick a subject, we talk about it during the week. We ask, for example, the Rock Professor is going to talk about the album, and he might talk about one specific period in the band's history, and then Brad's going to go away and talk about what the guitars they were using, So we're on page, and we do this because we want to be, when we come on here, those organised fans. That's all, just presenting something that's that's what's the word I'm looking for? Condensed, but important key points about the album or the band. Wrong? We always said it, haven't we? Got it wrong, or you disagree with us? Let us know. We're not saying we're experts, just fans.
Andrew, you there, buddy? I think we lost you there for a second.
He went a bit robotic, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's not me.
Have I frozen? Okay.
No, you're back. You're back.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry about that. But do you want to? Okay. All right. That's interesting. Yeah. Sorry about that.
You're all right. You're all right. But just to back up sort of what
testing,
Andrew was
testing,
saying.
1, 2, 3. Testing. One.
That's what the is. You idiot.
We can hear you, Andrew.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. It's
Okay, all right,
a sign of the
cool.
Yeah, sign of the times, guys. When we're all having internet issues, everyone's at home on their internet. So yeah, if we have little technical issues like dropping in and dropping out, that's a little bit unavoidable at the moment. But it's just because I'm guessing everyone's on Netflix or streaming stuff at the moment or on the internet. So stick in there, guys. It's lockdown here in Australia, and in Sydney's lockdown as well. So big shouts out to everyone there, everyone in Australia, everyone in New Zealand. And it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day, everyone here in Australia and New Zealand. Happy Father's Day to all the dads, you know, all the dads.
Awesome.
Happy Father's Day.
All the dads.
That's the
All
day
right.
where you get to PJs on all day and just relax.
So what's the album we're talking about this week, guys?
It was my pick. I picked Black Sabbath Volume 4, and we shuffled this from a fortnight ago. We had to shuffle it in honor of Charlie Watts. So looking for a good show here. I've got some pretty in-depth analysis throughout the songs, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this one. Really looking forward to it. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to this the last 2 weeks. How about you guys? Simon?
Yeah.
You're a Sabbath nut. You actually saw them.
Well, I had a look to see when I had to go and see when I went to see them. I saw them on this tour. I saw them on December the 11th, 1973, at the Colston Hall in Bristol. It was the second gig I ever went to. As I've said here on numerous occasions, my first ever gig, the ignominy, was Gary Glitter, the now disgraced former pop star, but in 1973, one of the biggest things in the UK, and having been astonished at the Gary Glitter concert at the Teen Bopper Mayhem, I then went off to the metal zone for more sanity. Well, I mean, that's just how it was, isn't it? I mean, I got a free ticket to go and see Gary Glitter, but I'm not sure I'd have chosen it myself. But if somebody offers you a free ticket, you go, don't you, for the experience? But it was it was great, and Ozzy with his buckskin jacket on, you know, with the frills on it and stuff, jumping around in platforms. They're not good for you're good for jumping, but not good for dancing. I seem to remember. You know,
What an experience.
Yeah, but you see, if you go and look at bands from that era, I mean, if you can find any film, it's all, it wasn't really, there's no stage show or anything like that. It was just put the amps up, put the PA up, and play. You know, there's the back of the consoles, no backdrops or anything like that. It's just, a few lights, PA, get on with it. And, so it's quite suits them really, isn't it? Mr. Down to earth band from Birmingham, so down to earth. But they were great. Yeah. I can't remember who supported them. I have no idea who supported them, but I have no memory of it. But I do have that memory of Ozzy jumping up and down in his buckskin jacket without a shirt on. The cocaine was having an effect, but he was still a chubby boy. Still eating a pie or two, young Ozzy.
Yeah, who doesn't mind a bit of a meat pie, huh?
Yes. Well, staple of the Black Country diet, that is nice meat pie.
Yeah. So, guys, when's the first time you actually listened to this record, or what made you gravitate to this record when you sort of put it on? Andrew, do you want to go first? Can you hear me?
I found this record, like a lot of my records when I was growing up, through school friends, high school friends.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about having schoolmates, isn't it? And this guy called Alex, and I've mentioned him before, and he was a very good friend of mine called Garth Blomfield. And this guy Alex was an American guy, and he'd got kicked out of the local boys' high school here in my town, and we had the unfortunate responsibility of taking him on in our school. But he was a pretty cool cat. He had records. He back in the olden days used to have bags that were the size of a record that you'd slip your records in, and you'd have that over your bag with your school bag, you see. And that was like a sign, wasn't it, Simon, of, that guy liked music, he had vinyl, so show us what's in your bag,
You're so, you're so 1980s, Mr. Walton. You're so 1980s.
That's correct, yeah. And I remember 70s. Him.
Oh, do it in a minute.
No, I'm not that old. But I remember him pulling out that record. It must have been during lunchtime or something like that, and the cover just blew me away. And I've got some pics here that Brad's flicked to us to show. But I always loved the cover. And that's one of the things, guys, that we talk about on the show, how important album covers are, whether they speak to you, whether they tell you something that's great about what's inside it. But I always loved the cover, had the T-shirt, loved it. What about you guys?
Sorry.
Well, because I was there when it came out, I just say, Mr. Walt, in the 70s, when record shops didn't have bags, we had we used to have our army surplus rucksack, right, that we used to put our school bags in, and on the back you would write, between the little novels, you would write the names of the bands you liked. And at school in 1973, 2 camps. You had the pop camp, sweet, blah blah blah. A bit less partisan these days, but in those days, sweet, T-Rex, whatever, pop stuff. And then over in the rock team, we, so you liked Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. They're all in the same, genre. So when things came out in that, you went off and bought them. So, we probably went to, and I've said about this, we went to a local record shop, go into a little booth, and get them to put on side one and listen to it, kind of thing, and see what it was like, and then we would then bought it, So when it came out, so we were in these serious rock camps. So I had things like Pink Floyd written on mine, Deep Purple, and Led Zeppelin written on my bag, not the sweet.
Thank God.
These days, I think Blockbuster's a great record. I think they made some great singles. I'm much less partisan about it now than I used to be then. It's like, yeah, we don't listen to that. That's pop. That's we don't do any of that. We do proper idiotic snobbery is what I call it now. But when you're 15, that's what you do. My stuff. It's very important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's as I said, then I went to see them as my second ever gig at the Colston Hall. So I mean, kind of I was there when it happened, vaguely.
Well, we're all a little bit envious of that. So because that was a wonderful period for me. Look, honestly, this album, like all of Black Sabbath's albums, were in succession. I bought them in order as they came out. Obviously, I bought them in the mid-90s though, so obviously a latecomer, but I was in my period of learning how to play guitar, and Sabbath were, I was introduced to Sabbath from one of my primary school mates who ended up, unfortunately, we didn't go to the same high school, but we were best mates, and every chance that we had, I catch up with him on weekends and stuff like that. His brother brought around the Black Sabbath record, the original one, and it just blew my mind. It scared me a little bit too. I'll be honest with you. The doom 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 doom. The way that the album started and everything, and
the bell, isn't it? Yeah, the bell and the
it scared me. Yeah, it was evil, but it was cool. And
did you really think it was evil? Did you really think it was evil?
Not evil, but dark. It had it actually sounded horror theme vibe to me, if that makes sense. But then by the time I got to Volume 4, I was a massive fan. I was a massive fan. Yeah. So I bought them all in succession. A month or two apart, sort of thing. I just thought I'd get one at a time, dive into the album, and get addicted to it, and then obviously move to the next one. But this album has got some cracking songs on it. Some of my all-time favorite Sabbath songs are on this record, and I'll never forget listening to Snowblind the first time. I was just like, wow. I was honestly just blown away. So for me, this record takes me back to that time, hanging out with my mate upstairs where his pool table was. Like I said, unfortunately, we didn't go to the same high school, so we kind of missed each other a lot. So we'd go play pool, listen to Black Sabbath, and it was very cool. It was a cool time.
Great.
So good morning to Helen, Winter, and also to Guitar Hack. Morning, Guitar Hack. Hope you're good.
Hey, Hack.
He's got new original music out. Check it out.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
Look, I agree with you. The stigma of Black Sabbath sort of was a thing that was wavering about in the air because before I consciously heard Black Sabbath music, I'd heard people, evil Satan music and all that, and you got to remember in the early 80s it was starting to sort of become, I think, a marketing thing as well, and So and then you sit and listen to it. It's like, oh, a rite of passage. I listened to Black Sabbath, and I survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we thought of that in it. We didn't think it. We just thought it was quite funny, really. And kind of like, satanic rock stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah, because we're all playing it backwards and getting these subliminal messages. No, we're not. We're just a bunch of normal 15-year-old kids playing rock and getting off on. It's just like, I think, like a lot of things, it gets overthought by some people, and most of us are not overthinking it at all. We're just going, it's just people with guitars making a noise. God, it's not very satanic, really.
Yeah,
no problem.
At the time, it just.
Sorry, bro.
Sure.
I was just going to say, check out Guitar Hack's channel. He's been with us right from the beginning to Guitar Hack. So if you guys haven't already checked out his channel, please do. Sorry, brother.
No problem. Yeah, check it out, guys. I'll be checking it out later as well. So that's where I'll be later tonight, probably checking it out. So I'm happy to dive into the album, guys, when you are.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into the album. Well, obviously, like I alluded to, Black Sabbath, from the first album to the fourth album, I bought them a few months apart just to get into the album. And this album was recorded originally in 1972. Hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Spring coming and hay fever. I get a little bit of hay fever in spring. So if anyone's aware of what spring's like here in Melbourne, there's a lot of pollen in the air. So fantastic. So I was just getting back to the album. It's 1972. The album came out, and it was recorded at Record Plant in LA. And this was the first three albums were produced by a producer called Roger Bain, and then they decided to take on the production duties themselves. Tony Iommi was pretty keen on doing that. He wanted to get away from that sound because he felt like pretty much Roger Bain didn't really understand the band, even though those records that we listen to now and love so much, at the time, that's how he felt about the production of the records. So they decided to take them into their own hands. And Ozzy's been quoted as saying, I'll read it out. He said, it's the first time we've produced ourselves. Previously, we had Roger Bain as producer, and although he's very good, he didn't really feel what the band was doing. It was a matter of communication. This time we did it with Patrick, our manager, and I think we're very happy. It was great to work in an American studio. They did a lot of it themselves, obviously, and it's come out obviously saying that their manager had very little to do with the production. That is or not. I'm just going by facts that were presented when I was researching this. So this time frame for the band was when they started using a certain substance that they wrote a song about, and they were known for doing smoking a little bit of substance and stuff before this record, but this record they became a little bit more with I don't really want to say it because I'm trying to keep it a family show, but there's a substance that you'll know what I'm talking about, and
Boutros. Known in the UK as Boutros. Known in the UK as Boutros. It's a very convoluted. I thought of this the other day when I was reading about it. It was making me laugh because Boutros Ghali was the General Secretary of the UN. Right. So Ghali rhymes with Charlie, which is what. So over here it's known as Boutros. Morning, Johnny.
Yeah, so look, at that point, at this point in the band's career, substance abuse was becoming a huge problem for the band. It obviously provoked an abundance of problems for the band while they were trying to record, including members of the band clearly not being up to the task while they were drunk, high, or both. They were doing a lot of funny pranks on each other. I don't necessarily want to promote what they were doing to each other unless you guys want to talk about it. I'll leave that to maybe the rock professor if he wants to dive into that. But
I've got a funny story.
Well, the pranks were funny to them at the time, but some of them were almost potentially lethal. So, but this is just a time frame in the band where they were, abusing substances and probably doing things that they probably normally wouldn't do. And they were blowing out their recording budget with substance abuse, and to the point where things were arriving into the studio in speaker boxes daily. So you can imagine how much they were consuming to allude to that much each day, a speaker box full of substance. The album cover, which obviously it's Ozzy on the front. He's got his hands doing the peace sign like this. And I know Andrew's very fond of this album cover. He's mentioned that in previous episodes when we were talking about this. So, yeah, I was just about to say, you want to throw that up. That's the album cover, and that's really cool. I know the album, the jacket with the tassels, is it? Call them leather tassels or whatever. Yeah. And that was his stage persona. Now, legend has it that this album cover was the record company put this as the album cover, and I don't think Tony Iommi was too happy about it. I don't know if this is 100% fact, so I don't want to promote it as fact, but it could be, and I'll quote, could be part of the reason why Tony Iommi made an Aussie stand when you're looking at the stage on the far right instead of in the center. So Tony was, let's just say he was a very powerful man at that point of time in the career of the band. So, and I think there was always a little bit of fear set in the band when Tony was around. This is the inside cover, so you can see quite clearly that's Bill Ward on the drums. And these photos were taken at a concert they did at Birmingham Town Hall in January 1972. The photographer's name is
Hometown.
McMillan. Yeah, that's Tony Iommi there. Obviously, just looking at him, a very powerful man. And as we've, I was going to, do a bit of a deep dive into Tony Iommi's incident and stuff, but we've already done that on previous shows, and I thought we'll just get on with the album and because there's some really cool stuff I want to deep dive into. There's Geezer Butler. On that previous picture too, you can see Tony Iommi's what he called thimbles or whatever he used on his fingers as well, because he had that incident. But Geezer was a cool dude, quite clearly very animatic on stage. He sort of, and when we get to the songs, obviously I'm going to allude, take you through some of the bass lines he's doing. He put a lot of movement in the songs. Fantastic. There's a really cool picture of Ozzy.
That's Ringo Starr there.
Who is it?
No.
Ringo Starr.
No,
That's not Ringo Starr.
Like Ringo Starr. Always thought that looked like Ringo Starr. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Ozzy's singing Snowblind, and he's in the back there selling Yellow Submarine.
Sorry.
That's the inside cover there. That was the center. Interestingly, that picture was taken obviously with Ozzy center stage. But if you have a look right in front of Tony Iommi, there's a vocal mic there with 2 fallback wedges, and that's where he was pushed to the left-hand side of the stage, which is very odd for a singer to be on the far side of the stage. So Legend, what I alluded to before might be actually correct. I'm not sure, because he was always center stage before this album. But that's a really cool picture. That's Birmingham Town Hall.
That's a classic municipal hall with the downstairs and then the balcony and stuff upstairs. Yeah.
Do we know if that hall's still there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's still there. Yeah. Mm.
And there's the actual photo that they took the image from for the cover, which is at that same gig. So I thought that was a cool picture to show. Yeah.
Thank you, right? Yeah.
It just sets a bit of a theme so we all understand where the band were at this time. And this is them at the time too. So they're holding up there. I'll go through. They achieved gold status in less than a month with this record. It was the band's 4th consecutive release to sell 1 million copies in the US. It reached 13 on the Billboard pop charts, number 8 on the UK album charts. Tomorrow's Dream was released as a single, but it failed to chart. And the album was obviously backed with an extensive tour through the United States. The band also toured Australia for the first time in '73, and then later Europe. So you can see and that's them backstage in that time frame as well. Oops. Sorry, so you can see they're very, very funky bunch of dudes, to say the least.
Ozzy in a kimono.
Mm. Yeah. I love looking at the pictures. I think it sets a bit of a theme for the, puts you in that time zone because obviously we can't play the songs on here. It just puts a little bit of a feel to what we're doing on here. So,
hey, Quentin.
Tony Iommi said this was a really complete change for them. And he quoted as saying, "We felt we had jumped an album, really. We tried to go too far." So that was his, later, his afterthought on the album later down the track. Probably, I don't know when that quote was from, probably in the late 90s or 2000s when have you guys got anything you want to touch on? I'm sure the rock professor's got something to talk about.
I've got some things. Yeah, I've got some. Originally, the album was going to be called going to be called Snowblind, which the record company said you're not calling it that because it's a slang term for a cocaine. So they can, but they did put on the back. They did put thanks to the Coca-Cola company on the back.
Have you been reading my notes, Simon?
Yeah,
this is what
yeah. Because it's funny. And I like the other quote I liked was the record cost. Geezer Butler said the record cost $65,000. The cocaine bill was $75,000.
There you go.
See, that's funny, but yeah, marvelous. But I think it was relatively. I think we should say critically relatively well received. Quite a lot of positive press about it, and clearly quite influential, with other people, Frank Zappa and stuff, like some of it. And so, yeah, interesting that it wasn't in the days before when I suppose, although they only had one hit single, Paranoid, but it was still comparatively mainstream, really. The mainstream rock press gave it reasonable reviews.
Yeah. Well, it did reach number 13 on the pop charts, on the Billboard pop chart. Number 8 on the UK album chart. So that's pretty impressive for a band like this.
No, yeah. But it's difficult to sort of visualize the world as it was then from now, because it's so compartmentalized now. You have chart music and you have old country, you have these massive genres. I mean, I've said on here before, the world of music was much smaller. So they were, the NME Weekly Music Press could cover everything, in a week. So you'd have, I don't know, album by Poco, you'd have, maybe not quite this early, but a Bob Marley album, or a reggae or a soul album, and some rock albums, and they would all get covered. It would all just get covered in one music. One music paper would cover them. One music paper to rule them all. Whereas now it's all completely split up. And you get a dance music magazine that has nothing whatever to do with chart music or or modern metal or indeed rock or anything else. So so compartmentalized. Whereas then it wasn't. And you would have Paranoid followed by, I don't know, Engelbert Humperdinck, and these two huge extremes of now. I mean, if you listen to the charts now, it's just it's so homogenized, and singles, lots of very similar sounds, very similar rhythms, all that. Then, as I say, you'd have Black Sabbath doing Paranoid, and then you'd have Engelbert Humperdinck, like crooning, sort of old style crooner. It was. It's weird. I mean, I agree, Dob. They weren't really played on mainstream radio, but on the rock shows, we did have the odd rock shows. So John Peel played them a bit, and it was like a Saturday afternoon rock show. And if you knew where to look, if you knew where to go, you could hear people playing, more rock music than pop. It was a sort of divide, but not nearly so much as there is now.
Now, we're played on, we have a radio station called Triple M here in Australia, and they always played Paranoid. They always played, I'm trying to think what was the other song they played. It'll come to me in a minute. But they did get regular airplay, like daily sort of thing on Triple M. That was an FM station here, and it still is, obviously, but they were very, very much playing a lot of rock music at the time. So every time I turn Triple M on, you always hear Stairway to Heaven, Paranoid. Like, they always play the classic, Smoke on the Water. They always play the classics, yeah. But so you guys want to get into the rankings, or have you got any more to say there, Simon?
No, I'm just going to answer. I don't. The Cool Music Tech just asked me if did Black Sabbath ever play the old grey whistle test. Not that I remember, but they might have done. But I don't remember seeing them on the old grey whistle test. Not in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, John, I have to agree with you, mate. When I was doing my apprenticeship in Sydney, that they would always play Paranoid, you'd always hear Bohemian Rhapsody, you'd always hear Stairway to Heaven, you'd always hear Smoke on the Water, and they would play the same 5 songs from every band. Yeah. It's I've got Hoss in the chat there. Good to see you, Hoss.
Morning, Simon. How you doing?
Hope you're doing well. And I'll see you taking Happy Father's Day to your dad. Happy Father's Day. We already said Happy Father's Day to all the dads. So we might as well get into the rankings, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
So it goes me, Simon, then you, Andrew. Is that the order we're doing?
That's what we're doing.
All right, Cool. All right, so first track, Wheels of Confusion. Wow. This track for me, it's got a great melodic sort of lead intro to the start of the song over some really nice arpeggiated chords. It's got some great drumming from Bill, and Geezer like holds that bottom end down just really tight with Bill Ward there. The verses, it's like they never skip a beat. They got that sludgy chord with that sort of skip beat on the drums. Ozzy's singing wonderfully in this song. Great the melody line in the vocals is fantastic. It's so catchy. The lyrics are great. It's like basically about alienation and being lost in the wheels of confusion. There's lots of twists and turns in this musical journey. I call this song like a musical journey, and I always refer to that with Sabbath. They always go on these little journeys, and they paved the way for bands later like Metallica and all those other bands that and Iron Maiden, like what we did with Hoss. That Sabbath were the guys that sort of leaded the way, in my opinion, with this. They did these musical journeys, and this song is a perfect example of that. Sorry, that was my phone. That was my phone there. I'm sorry about that. I love the middle section where it goes to the double time and has the stops and starts. The structure, the musical interlude before the solo is fantastic. Once the song comes back into the verses, it just seems like, we've gone off the bitumen onto a dirt track. We've gone over bumps and everything and like this, and then we've come back to the bitumen. It's just remarkable how they managed to pull the song straight back off the beaten track into, back onto the bitumen, and it's just unbelievable. The outro is like a whole nother song, and I believe it has a song title, but it's not actually mentioned on the album cover, so I didn't want to sort of allude to that too much. But I love the drumming, the spooky underlying arpeggiated chords again, which is fantastic. Some great playing from Miami, and I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's a never a skip for me, Simon.
No. I read that their sort of classic in this period, their classic modus operandi was that, they would, Iommi would just riff, all the time, just riff, another riff, and they'd tell, and if any of the band said, "Oh, that's good," then they kind of kept them. If nobody said anything, they moved on. Kind of, he did something else. But he said they would often write 2 or even 3 songs, and then just go, "Yeah, well, that's all right." So and then put them together, the best bits of each one together, kind of thing. Which clearly, as you said, they've got that in the intro in the 3/4 in the waltz time, and then it goes into straight 4/4 for the riff. And then they do the other bits in the middle. They have an atmospheric guitar bit and the twin guitar lines. And, sorry, and all of that. It's you get the feeling that, as you say, that they've written 3 songs, then they bolted them together to make one, which is I like the Leslie guitar. Clearly, experiment with different sounds and different ways of doing something. But very much within the context of that 3-piece, instrumentally the 3-piece. I say it a lot for albums of this thing, how much space there is. There is not like masses going on. Is it like layers of guitars and layers of, you get the double tracking and stuff. You get 2 different, but if he's playing a riff, you're just playing a riff, isn't it? And it's just one guitar, maybe 2 guitars, but really one guitar track, and that's what you get. And I don't think you don't think to yourself, this is very thin, do you? You think, wow, let's look at that. I think it gives you the chance for the guitar to fill up a larger amount of space rather than compressing it all down so it's in a little space because you've got a load of other instruments there. But it's a classic Sabbath. I think that bolting things together, and it also keeps things really interesting, doesn't it? If you suddenly have another bit, another completely different different riff, or it goes faster, or it goes whatever. It kind of keeps the interest going. So and I think if you've got an album that's a song that's 8 minutes long, you've got to find a way. You can't just do the same thing for 8 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that little outro to the song is called the straightener. By the way, that's it. Yeah. That was what I read somewhere, but on some album covers it's got that name title there, and then on some album covers it doesn't. So I wasn't sure whether it was actually correct. So I didn't want to. But that little outro bit, which is probably one of my favorite bits of that song, is called The Straightener. I didn't mean to cut you off there either, Simon.
No, it's fine. No. Conversation. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, but just double track guitars is something completely different. So it's 9 out of 10 for me. Really strong opener to album, and certainly not a skip.
Andrew, you better be quiet.
No, it can't be a skip, can it? It's not a skip. It's never a skip, is it? It's probably one of the greatest Black Sabbath openers. It's a smart, sophisticated number that's reflective of, I think, what the band wanted to achieve. They're clearly just more than rockers in this song. It reveals some of the weird roots that they wanted to sort of bring, I think, a little bit earlier, but managed to get an opportunity at this situation in their time, in America especially, because they're the ones that are going to be able to at least put down all these different musical bits and pieces that are coming from all these different areas into this song. It's one of the longest songs on the album, isn't it? I think it's
8
minutes. So that's pretty long. That's pretty long for an opener. So again, it's clever because the band are at least confident in putting this song as its opening track, because normally you wouldn't put an 8-minute song on an album, but Black Sabbath, with as Brad said, with Tony Iommi at this period in their history, was the man, and he probably said, let's do it. So I think this is a song that reflects, in my mind, Tony Iommi, because he was the guy that had all these different musical tastes too. So, but yeah, look, I love it. Great opener for a hot band during a critical period of their time. Love it. Never a skip.
Excellent. Did you give it a ranking?
Oh, 10 out of 10, brother. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. No score.
You're going to be quiet over there, Andrew. So I'm thinking, maybe he's going to give this one a naughty corner score or something.
Oh, no. Not yet. It might be a few.
Oh, look at that.
I like the possible timeout come up here. So, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So the next song is Tomorrow's Dreams. Look, what an awesome sludgy riff. It's so sludgy. I love it. Great vocal from Ozzy. I love that tough, flat guitar tone that he's got. It's got that flat tone to it. I feel the drum level on this song drops a little bit at times, and maybe it's a mix issue, or I don't know. But for me, on this particular song, the drums do get a bit lost, but still great playing from Bill Ward and Geezer together. Obviously, such a good rhythm section. I love the feel, especially around the 1 minute 37. If you remember that, go and have a listen. The feel of the song at 1 minute 37 is just fantastic. The little musical interlude or solo section, it's just enough to keep a change happening in the song, but it's not too far off the beaten track this time. It's where we've just sort of gone off the curb a little bit and then back on the beaten track, off the beaten track onto the bitumen again. It's, they're so good at doing that. There's some trippy overdubs on this one. And, I don't know if I mentioned this in the first track, but this is listening to these songs. It's just such a great example of how well the band gelled. When they go off on these tangents and they're coming back, there's no way possible they could have done these songs without recording them live, because it would have been eye contact. And they were, at this particular time, like we alluded to, there was a lot of substance abuse and everything going on. Whatever it was, whenever they clicked that record button, they got it right. That's all that matters, I guess, at the end of the day. It sounds like all the beds are recorded live on this whole record, and this song's a perfect example of that. I gave this song an 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah.
Sorry.
just to pick up on your thing about the drums, I think, Brad, when you, and we can allude to another record which has had a bit of controversy recently, but that thing about when you, in 1974, when you're mixing things on analog, you have to decide what's going to be at the front and what's going to be further back. And if you're having the guitars clearly up the front, you can't, when you're doing it to tape, you can't make the drums. So what happens is the drums and the bass, you decide. So the drums drop off. They have to drop off in favor of the guitars. You can't, these days you can, digitally you can make everything sort of flatter in the mix, if you like. So the drums can be really loud, and you can alter that. I mean, all things must pass. All the furor around the latest release of All Things Must Pass about them boosting the bass and all of that, because the bass and the drums, if you go and listen to the original, they're quite far back in the mix, because something has to give in analog world that doesn't have to give in digital world. And so I think that it's, that you will find a lot of those rock records from the early 70s, late 60s, the drums and stuff are quite quiet, because that's how you have to mix them, and even if you don't have that many instruments, it still has to be, still has to be done like that, or it had to be done like that then. And then you go back and you remix it in a digital world. You could do something different. You could change it around. But I'm sure anyone has. Tomorrow's Dream was apparently it was inspired by Mark Bolan, T-Rex. Apparently, Geezer Butler, who wrote the lyrics, said that he never knew Bolan personally, but every time I've seen Bolan, it always reminded me how fragile everything is. He was a massive star in England, but not really heard of outside England. It was just really about how delicate being a pop star is. Like, one day you're massive, the next day you're forgotten. Which is, it's you have to say, they always wrote about things, didn't they, Sabbath? Butler, always wrote about something, not about, it's not all, the dark satanic lord is coming. It's it's proper songs with proper themes and proper things. So, 8 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Great. And again, that thing about having instrumental breaks, little bits are different, and all of those things. Really great. Yeah.
Andrew,
Mr. Walton.
Yeah, interesting number 2 song. I don't skip the song, never have. I like it. It's we're on par here, gentlemen, because I've given it an 8 out of 10 too, and it's interesting. It's a guitar riff played with dead strings, I think too. Which is an interesting thing. I'm not sure about. This is an argument that we could have later on when we do All Things Must Pass, but I think a lot of the remixing and stuff like that people were doing or do now for the modern ear, when they push the bass through, I think it's something that is suited for the modern ear. I suppose that's my theory. But back in the 70s, Simon, I think I got a lot of the album mixes that we rank pretty well. I don't see the mixing on this album as something that's like, for me personally, an issue. I think it's certainly adequate for a rock and roll band. I love the song. It's the calm before the storm for the next song. And I see there's a couple of comments in the chat saying, hurry up and get next songs. And it's interesting that I should say calm before the storm, because it almost, is the next song really a storm? We'll talk about that. But it's never a skip, Brad. Never a skip.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, interesting that you say about the mixing of, mixing for modern ears. I mean, I know certainly now, if you go to live gigs, they have a lot of bottom end, don't they? There's a lot of bottom end in live gigs now. Too much, in my opinion, quite often. But, things at the top end get lost because you've got a lot of bottom end. But I don't think we ever thought in the, then, thought the drums are a bit quiet. They are as they were, we just want to hear the guitars.
I guess my ears are just adjusted to bands where the drums are fairly up front. That's all. And this song, oh, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. This song.
So you're young and modern, Brad. You see, that's why you.
Well, say you. Oh, okay. Compare the first track where the drums sit, and then compare the second track. And so they're a little bit backwards there, but that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. They mixed it for the song. So the next one, the big one that everyone in the chat's talking about. So we better touch on that, fellas. What do you reckon? Changes, written by Iommi, with lyrics by Geezer Butler. It's obviously written on a piano where it's got mellotron in it. Tony apparently taught himself how to play the piano. He found one in the ballroom of the Bel Air mansion they were hiring at the time or renting at the time. And on that piano, Changes was written.
Really?
And that's what I've got here.
Yeah, he taught himself to play.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
Yep. So Tony, this is what Ozzy is quoted as saying. Tony just sat down at the piano and came up with this beautiful riff. This is what he wrote in his memoir. He put, "I'm humble. I hummed a melody over the top, and Geezer wrote these heartbreaking lyrics about a breakup Bill was going through with his wife. I thought this was brilliant from the moment we recorded it." For me, it's a very diverse and different song for Sabbath, Black Sabbath. Ozzy's vocals are great on this song. I love them. Arguably, I know people might not think so, but I love his voice on this song. The reason I like it, it's authentic, and he puts so much passion and feel into the delivery of the vocal. And it's not about perfection for me. It's about that feeling. You know, you with this song, he's going for the heart and soul, and I really feel like he channeled that, and he channeled pain maybe from his own experiences or something into the delivery, and I think it's wonderful. You know, the mellotron and everything on this song adds another melody to the actual piano line as well. So there's like two moving melodies. The song's just got a very heartfelt thing going on for me. The lyrics are beautifully simplistic, which I call perfect. They're not too in-depth. They're not too deep. They're just raw up front. To me, I like lyrical content that's written that way. That's not too I like it. It's just like simple guys, you know, putting it out there. There's simple changes in their life and the pain. They're just putting it out there. Really exposing himself, and I think Bill Ward did who was it? Butler. Geezer Butler wrote amazing lyrics there. I'll be honest with you guys. I used to skip this track as a kid when I was learning guitar because I wanted to hear guitar-orientated Sabbath. I wanted to hear, Snowblind. I wanted to hear Wheels of Confusion. I didn't want to hear piano-style Sabbath. But as I've gotten older, we all go through things in life where, you've had situations in life where there's a bit of pain or suffering or hurt. Now I absolutely adore this song, and I gave it a 10 out of 10 and never a skip. Simon.
The dog bar, I would have to say that Changes is the single worst Sabbath song ever, and did in fact one of the worst of the entire era. Utterly horrible.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dog Pa. I'm sorry.
1974. Well, yes, I mean, I think that this is a that track 3. You've got to do some diversity, haven't you? And in those days, diversity was a thing. You did different things on albums. We talk a lot about, it's a completely different style of what came before. Completely different. We've had 2 heavy songs, one very long, and now we have a piano ballad. Basically, what you call a piano ballad. With but no thought about that's not what we do. That's not how. That's not what Black Sabbath is. It's like, yes, it's a great song. Let's put it on. And you know, so I think they're definitely for that. I think that I like the mellotron as well. Mellotron, the old strings mellotron thing. You can hear it going wobbling slightly. That I love, but I think it gives it tremendous atmosphere, you know, and really enhances the feel of the song. You know, double track vocals in the chorus. I mean, it's a classic for me. 10 out of 10, never a skip. In Dogpa's case, 0 out of 10, always a skip. But no, I think it's an absolute, you know, it's great, and I think the diversity, you know, I like about these things, you know, about you know, planning, you know, the order of tracks and things and what they do in particular places. I think this is you know, the place where you do this, absolutely. So 10 out of 10 for me, never a skip. Really cool. Mr. Walton.
I feel unhappy. I feel so sad. I lost the best that I ever had. She was my woman. I loved her so. But it's too late now. I've let her go. I tell you what, when your heart's broken and you're going through some changes and you got some alcohol there's some great rock and roll songs to winch more tears out of you. This is one of those songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I've been in that situation too that I've just described. You know, love it because of that. Seen other friends go through that same situation too. You know, when we've been drinking and, you know, doing what boys do together, and this song comes on and you see a few tears. But it's also a great song to sing with the boys, you know, when you're half pissed, you know, and you've won some rugby or something like that, you know. It's a great song to sing. I love it because it's a sad song, but it's a great song from my perspective. I'm going to give the song a Brad score. I love the song. I didn't know. I thought I knew a little bit about Black Sabbath, but I didn't realize or know that Tony Iommi taught himself to play the keyboards to do this. So that just reinforces my opinion about him being the kingpin of the band during this time. Brad score.
Yeah.
20 out of 10. And I still carry those scars too when I hear the song. Oh.
I'm just going to touch on the dog part. Like your score on it was my score on it, like when I was a teenager learning how to play guitar, because I didn't care for it. I didn't, but like Andrew alluded to, when you've been, you know, I'm sure we all go through stuff in life where where it's a high school sweetheart or further, you go through some pains, and then all of a sudden songs like this open up and they become big parts of that moving on process. So yeah, that's all I'll touch on. But I Dogpa, I was that person when I was learning how to play Paranoid. I didn't want to hear changes. I didn't want to hear it, but I love it now. So I hope maybe we can change your mind on that. That's what I'm getting at. All right, so I don't want to digress too much. We'll get on to Effects, which is the next track, the fourth song in. It's called an instrumental. Effects came out.
Putting the mental in the instrumental.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to read out what I've got here and move on. I've put here, came about unexpectedly in the studio after smoking hashish. The crucifix hanging from Tony Iommi's neck accidentally struck the strings of the guitar, and the band took an interest in the odd sound produced. An echo effect was added, and the band proceeded to hit the guitar with various objects to generate odd sounds and effects. Iommi calls it a total joke, and to me, it's just an album filler to fill a little bit of time before the next song. I don't really see it as a song. I just see it as something that interludes into the next song. Could it be on the album or not? I don't think it could I think you could remove it and it wouldn't matter to me at all. There's no real reason for this. And I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 and a skip.
Yeah. The bit you missed out, Brad, about is that apparently they were naked in the studio. Tony took all his clothes off, still had his cross on, which was hitting his guitar. It doesn't make it better, makes it worse.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah. It's the it's the Tony Iommi's cross. It takes on a whole new meaning when you say they're naked.
You sure it was his cross?
Livid. Yes, I mean, I have, I listened to it once, and the other times I've skipped it. To skip. I don't really have anything to say. I mean, I don't. I understand in 1974 that if you do it, for me, it's a thing about, and we talked about this the other week about when you're self-producing. If you had an external producer there, we talked about it with the Stones, weren't we, last week? When you're having it, something you do as a bit of a joke and a bit of a laugh. You go, let's put it on the album, and you've got nobody there outside going, don't be silly, go and do another song, behave yourselves, So it ends up on the album. Yes, I think it's slightly in line with the indulgence of the album, but no, I don't think. I as I say, I've skipped it every time I listen to it, except for the first time. Just remind myself. His cross, Mark Tanner, cross. 5-letter word. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, it's just something that means something to the band. This piece, isn't it? Just a bit of junk. It's not even interesting. I never thought it was. Always a skip.
Yeah, I think
you're not going to score it.
No, he's not even going to score it. That'd be a first. But yeah,
no score. An inverse Brad score.
A reverse Brad score.
Inverse, yes.
Yeah. So moving on, because we don't want to waste any more time on the skip. Supernaut. Now, this has to be one of the toughest nails intros and riff. Like for Sabbath, I just love it. The first line of vocals is just as epic as the riff itself to me. The drumming is slamming. Geezer on the bass is rolling and thundering along. You can hear his brilliance in this track. It's moving bass line, just putting that sort of roll in the underneath the rhythm. It's just fantastic. The guitars are in your face. The solo is frantic. The hammer-on pull-offs that are a signature Iommi thing are all over this solo. It's fantastic. I love the percussive interlude. It's fantastic. I hate that the song fades out. I don't want it to fade out. I love the song. I played this song over and over and over in the re-listening to this. I give it a 20 out of 10. I love this track. I'm interested to see what my co-hosts have to say. Simon.
Yes. Now we're back to proper songs. Something of relief. I agree. That sort of the other thing I'd pick out, Brad, is that kind of typical kind of Sabbath thing. The drum break in the middle. It's like it's got an almost Latin percussion feel.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? Oh, it's great. I love it. It's, it just kind of gives it a complete twist in the middle here. Got some, some percussion going on. It's like, so it's as you say, another great riff, another, Iommi, that's what he said, I can keep knocking out the riffs, I can keep playing them, and if the band react to them, then this was one of them, He had the wah-wah going, started playing this riff, and everybody liked it. So we made it into a song. It's a good way of composing as any, isn't it? Clearly, the title doesn't show up in the lyrics, and it doesn't have a chorus. But still a classic Sabbath song for me. 10 out of 10. Never a skip. And absolutely, thank goodness we finished the side on an up.
Yeah, I agree.
Could have easily, the album could have easily opened with this song, in my opinion. It's bordering on a masterpiece. The drumming, the way that it starts off, and as Brad said, the riff kicks in. It's uniquely English rock and roll for me. It's it's Charlie Watts and Keith Richards. It's just something that I think the English guys, no disrespect to the North American guys watching this, and in fact, I think a lot of you will probably agree. It's just the timing thing that they have, Simon and Brad. The way that it just comes in a little bit off beat. It's just remarkable. One of my favourite songs ever. Pretty good that this ends side 2, isn't it? When you've got just about a song border on a masterpiece. I'm going to have to give it a Brad score. It's a 20 out of 10. Never a skip, and probably in my top 5, certainly top 10, but top 5 Black Sabbath songs ever.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page with that one. That's good.
Yeah,
that's great.
See, I like John's comment. Jesus, Bill, I said make it sound like Satan, not Santana. That's fantastic, John. Well done.
Well, yeah, the Rolling Stones did that too, didn't they? With "Can't You Hear Me Knocking," with the solo interlude there. It's Mick Taylor's channeling a bit of Santana, and it's and Santana clearly is North American, so it's interesting. So you got that crossover happening almost instantaneously during rock and roll history. It's remarkable.
Unreal.
Santana, clearly channeling Santana.
Unbelievable. Yeah, well, maybe they were listening to Santana, Maybe, who knows? You never know. They could have had it on in the studio and went, Bill Ward might have been like, oh, I'm going to do that.
They definitely were. Guaranteed, brother. Guaranteed they were listening to him.
Yeah. It was, who knows? But so we're up to side 2, the opening track for side 2, and my goodness, what an absolute belter of a first track for side 2. And honestly, this is one of the best riffs in classic rock history, in my opinion. I'm saying Snowblind, it's obviously reference to cocaine, their drug of choice at this period. Snowblind was the working title for the record, but Vertigo Records decided that they were reluctant to release it with such an obvious drug reference. So they obviously went with Volume 4. But the intro, man, it's all power. The verses are sludgy. They power along. The feel on the drums of Bill Ward, just epic. The interlude, the bit where Ozzy's singing "My Eyes Are Blind, But I Can See," it just gives me goosebumps every single time. Like every single time that bit comes on, I'm like, wow. And the bass during that breakdown reminds me of, forgive me if I'm wrong, Paul McCartney from the Beatles. I just hear Paul McCartney all over the bass line in this one. What a great solo. The way the song comes back from the solo is classy and just classic Black Sabbath. The solo reminds me of a Deep Purple song, but I can't pick what it is. But obviously there's a crossover of influences there as well. I'm sure I don't know what song. I couldn't pick it, but for some reason I kept hearing Deep Purple-ish vibe. The journey begins, with a completely different feel. Then you don't, that bit where it goes, don't you think you know what I'm doing? It's like a complete new song within the song. It's like a complete journey. They come straight back into the main verses again. There's some nice keyboard there for color. Man, I can't say enough good stuff about this. The outro solo has all of Tony Iommi's techniques in one solo. Again, I hate how this song fades out. I spent a lot of my teenage years jamming along to this record on my Les Paul, this song in particular, that opening riff, just to sit and play that over and over and over and over. Just, wow. I have to give this a 20 out of 10. It's never a skip for me, and I'm really keen to hear what my co-hosts are going to say about this one as well, because if they're on the right, if they give this anything lower than a 9, they're time out.
4. Yes.
Oh, geez, time out. That's immediate.
Joking.
Actually, you give that a 4, and you're barred from the rest of the show.
Don't tempt me. Feet up, big cigar. See, look at that.
That's it.
No, this is one of classic Sabbath, isn't it? It's absolute classic Sabbath. The again starts off with a riff, bass does come in, and then he does another riff, and then he does a verse, and then he does an instrumental break, which is different again. And then he does that arpeggio guitar break. It's like, wait a minute, how many bits have you got sticking them all together? I find it amazing, that when you're able to, produce, you think that 5 ideas in one song is that's fine, sticking them all together, making them cohesive. But they're just fearless about it, they just do it, don't they? Just put it. I know I'm going to play this. Look, it's amazing, that I think that being able to do that and having that kind of confidence, well, that's what cocaine does for you, I suppose, gives you the confidence. But to be able to put all those different elements together, and it keeps the song really interesting, doesn't it? Because you don't know what's going to come up next, like something completely different in a minute. So it is a 10 out of 10 and never a skip. It is one of Sabbath's classic songs. And I think that thing about that Butler said about the lyrics, he said he was supposed it was about it being frightened of getting addicted to because it was so good. That kind of thing. Because Ozzy said, we wrote Snowblind because it was the most amazing discovery of our lives. And we thought that's what success was, but it turned out to be our worst enemy. And I think that, that it's not just a celebration. There is a kind of a fear in there as well, which gives it an extra edge, which I think which is quite right. Something that can make you feel that good should be feared. Somebody I know said that about cocaine. I took it once, but something that good is something to be feared, never to do again. So yes, 10 out of 10 for me, never a skip, an absolute bona fide Black Sabbath classic song.
Cheers,
Simon.
Hoss.
Take care. See you soon, man. Thanks for dropping by.
Andrew.
Well, cocaine was the safe drug, wasn't it, for a lot of these guys at that time? They had seen the effects of heroin on a couple of guys and realised, ooh, we'll keep away from this, and we'll take snowblind stuff, and and the party kicked off, didn't it? And then we realised a little bit later on, didn't we, that it was detrimental. So. But you can understand why there was this enthusiasm, because it meant that they could be creative and get around and do things at 50,000 miles an hour. Were they smashed in the studio? Well, that's debatable, depending on what articles you read and what interview they give. Sometimes they say that they were cleaned up and they were pretty good in the studio, and then other times, aren't they, guys, they're saying they were off their nut. But it's an ode to a rock and roll ingredient, isn't it? The groupies, heroin, and cocaine. I love the song. It's fantastic, and I love the song musically because of Bill Ward. I just when I listened to this the last 2 weeks, this one of the standout drumming patterns by the guy. I just think he's just, I'm not going to say underrated, but I just I forgive me for making these comparisons, but because I'd been listening to the Rolling Stones during the same time, I was hearing this thing going on, this wonderful thing that these drummers do, and Bill Ward certainly has it for me. I'm not going to talk about the riff because Brad's already spoken about it. It's Tony Iommi, again, the riff meister. Just a celebration of great music. I have to agree with Brad. It's a 20 out of 10. It's in my top 5 Black Sabbath songs.
Yeah, it's definitely my top 5, without doubt. And yeah, what a song! And it's such a great, strong way to start side 2. Really, imagine first time putting this on, flipping your LP over and putting this on. If you remember, I remember the first time I heard Snowblind. I had to listen to it twice to take it all in. I had to.
Could have opened the album too. Could have opened the album, bro.
Yeah, strong to put one as an opener for it's a strong opener and then a strong opener for the side 2. I think it's like a good hump for the record. It's good.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely could have opened it, no problem at all. What are we up to? So we just did Snowblind. Sorry, I'm just going over my notes.
Cornucopia.
Cornucopia. Doomy intro. Very cool. Verses are cool. I love the way they have the little music interludes at the end of each verse. There's lots of journeys in this track, considering it goes for 3 minutes 45 seconds. Like, there's lots of little journeys in it. The musical interludes. The music interludes lead to new sections, but they all seem to come back together. And this obviously highlights how tight the band were. Again, I'm going to say it. They definitely recorded this stuff live, the beds at least. There's no way they could have tracked this individually. There's just absolutely no way, because they weren't recording to click tracks. So everything would have been eye contact. They would have been watching each other for changes, and I'm sure they were locked in really tight. Chemistry. We go on about chemistry in bands. These guys had it. For one way or another, they just locked in together, and it was amazing. Look, for me, it's not one of the stronger tracks on the record, but I still really enjoy it. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm interested to see what my co-hosts have to say about this one as well, because I've had some of my Sabbath mates reckon it's one of their greatest, and I'm sort of not necessarily agreeing with that. So I want to hear what you guys have to say. Simon.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's yeah. The lyrics. I look at the lyrics of these things, of all the songs. Kind of, there's a certain amount of skepticism about about the modern world. I think even then it probably applies quite a lot to today. Really, let them have their little toys, matchbox cars, and more kids' joys, excited in their plastic ways, frozen foods in a concrete place. It kind of, has a kind of, again, has something to say. I'm always keen on songs that have something to say. I think it's, again, pick out a couple of things. In the verse, I noticed the drums following the rhythm of the vocals, kind of thing. So clear. I think you're right, Brad. All the rhythm tracks are tracked live in the studio. Rhythm guitar, bass, drums. Probably died vocals, probably done. So and then you once you've locked those in, you build off it. So again, different chords under the singing. No chorus, by the way, as well. It's very interesting. Seemingly something of a Sabbath thing. No chorus, and 3:10 do a stop and do a restart, kind of thing, with different chords. So it's an 8 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. I think it's a good second track of the second side. Yeah, absolutely. And again, has something to say. Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Andrew.
My brother's favourite Black Sabbath song, and I could never understand why. He just loved it when we used to play this album when we were doing things together with other people, he would love this, and and you knew he'd love it because he'd start dancing to it, moving to it, and I could never work out why, because it was never my favorite song. The only really thing that's interesting about the song, for my mind, was the title and the lyrics, but we won't talk about the lyrics too much because Simon's already mentioned it. But all rock and roll is like a good set of lyrics, don't we? You got the riff, and you can have a shit set of lyrics, but you still love the song, eh, Brad?
Oh yeah.
And you can have a great set of lyrics and an average kind of thing going on. Not my favorite song. I've got an 8 out of 10 here. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Maybe sometimes a skip. Sometimes could sometimes be a skip, but in the context of the album, I can see what it is, but not my favorite.
Yeah, I get it. I think back in the day when I first got this album, I might have skipped it a lot, but obviously I'm talking a long time ago. So as time goes on, you certain tracks grow on you, and I do like it, but it's not. I think I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. So we're very similar. We're on par there, which is good.
Remember, Brad, in the old days when we had vinyl, to skip a track, you had to get up, lift the arm up carefully, move it across, and put it down again. Frankly, too much effort. It's like, let it play through. So
Yep.
Not CD.
So on to the next track, little instrumental, Laguna Sunrise. Makes you want to pour yourself a cocktail and put your feet up in the deck chair and watch the sunrise. It's an upfield acoustic instrumental. It's got some nice ambient keyboards in there. Delicate little melody over the top of some lush acoustic chords. It's an uplifting energy in this song. I like the mic'd acoustic sounds, the way they've done it. It's very raw. The acoustic sounds are very raw, but I kind of like that. Iommi plays great on this. I listen to it now. When I first discovered this album way back, I was into Heavy Sabbath, so I used to skip this track, but I really, really like this song now. I gave it an 8 out of 10. But yeah, I used to skip this a lot, and obviously over the last however long of listening to Sabbath, it's really grown on me. I like how there's that on an album flow. This song just sort of sits perfectly in there after a couple of belting like riffs that are smacking you around the ears, and it's just a nice little uplifting energy. It's nice. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me, Simon.
Completely agree. I think that when you're designing an album, you've got to have contrasts and things. And this is, you've got to, as you say, two heavy riff, tracks, and you have to, and I think it's that there's break it up in such a contrasting way. I think is quite a bold choice, to be honest. It clearly doesn't, stylistically, musically, it's not the same as anything else on the album. It's not even Light Changes, which at least is, has singing and, has a structure to it. But whereas this, no singing, just as you say, 6 and 12 string guitars with a mellotron, and it's a 7 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. I love it in the context of the album. I think it does its job in this place perfectly. So I think that it's great. I really like it. When it's got that kind of Spanish feel to it as well. But yeah. As I said, I'm not going to give it massive. It's not, in terms of song wise, it's a bit slight. But it does a job in the context of a flow of an album. So it breaks it up a bit. That's really cool.
Andrew.
Oh, I don't like the song. Don't like it. Takes me nowhere. Song goes nowhere. Ding on the guitar. Ding 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 ding. Yeah. I just can't work it out. I don't know. I don't know Yeah, and I can't see how it fits in the context of the album, guys. So I just think it's just self-indulgent Black Sabbath for the guys, and they wanted to put it on there, and they've done that, and that's great. I'm going to go back to Simon's argument about a producer having someone pull. Yeah, look, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. And often a skip.
Well, you know what, Andrew, I'm not going to time you out for that because I used to skip it. Like I said, I think it grew on me a little bit more through listening, and I understand what you're saying. I completely agree in certain aspects of it's self-indulgent, but for me, Sabbath are self-indulgent. That kind of, for me anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they are very self-indulgent, and in the context of the record, I kind of like, I kind of like how it's like a little upfeel. It does take and I agree with you, Andrew, 100% in the sense where it takes a little bit of time for you to grasp what's going on with it, I think. So, yeah, I can understand that. Like I said, I used to skip it, so I'm not going to time you out for a 5 out of 10. Did you give it 5 out of 10 or 5 out of 5? Because 5
out of 5, you see, that's probably a 10, isn't it?
5 out of 10. Yeah, no, 5 out of 10. Yeah. So that's the best I can give it.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good comment about maybe a producer would have said to them, make it into a song, and given them some ideas about actually maybe writing some words or something and stuff like that. Andrew, I take your point about that. I think that that bands producing themselves definitely a two-edged sword in some, But no, I'm cool with it. As I said, 7's not slight, but that's fine for me. I don't mind. There's a counterpoint to what comes before and goes afterwards. I think that's all right.
Yeah, well, okay. So we're up to Saint. It's a cool little rock and riff. The mix on this song is strange to me, but we've already sort of gone over that, so I won't sort of go too much over this one. The drums are buried, and I think the guitars are maybe too loud in the mix. That's just my take on it. I may be wrong there, but just that's how it feels to me. The drums, they're cool. There's some cool drumming on it, cool vocal melody. It's catchy. The bass is providing all the movement in this song for me. So Geezer Butler is just moving it. He's putting the movement in the song for me. I like that flat, choked up tone on Iami's guitar in this song. Look, it's definitely a Black Sabbath song. I like it. It's not something I would play to someone who's never heard Black Sabbath before. It would probably detract the person to ever want to listen to Black Sabbath again. I'm going to give the song a 7 out of 10. I did rank it 8 out of 10, but I dropped it back the second or third listen to it because I thought, you know what, that one's just not resonating with me at the moment. So that's where I rate it now. Simon.
I agree. Yes, it's the classic. The second song before the end is the classic place to put the slightly weaker song, and I think this is one of the slightly weaker songs. For me, it's fairly simple song. It's only 2 minutes 30. 7 out of 10 from me. Not a skip. I'm fine with it as a song, but yeah, I think it's it's fairly slight and. Yeah, I mean it does the Sabbath thing. It's fine as a fine Sabbath song, but I don't think it deserves more than a 7 from me. Andrew.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you guys too. It's an average song, isn't it? Brad said it. It's a Black Sabbath song. Nothing remarkable. It's the Beatles have got those average songs on some of their albums too, and I see this song as a 7 out of 10. It's never a skip.
That's fighting talk, Mr. Walton.
Ozzy's doing, and Ozzy's singing really well on this song too. So interesting album side. But I look forward to hearing what my co-hosts have to say about the last track. Never a skip.
Cool. Well, we're sort of all over. We're in the ballpark with everything, I think, here, other than one song, I think. But yeah, so we're all over this one. Okay, so the last track, it's titled "Under the Sun." On one album cover that I've got, it says "Under the Sun" and "Every Day Comes and Goes." So because which we'll go through, there's like almost 2 or 3 sort of little areas of the song. So I'm assuming whether that's because on another record that I've got, because I've got this one a couple of times, it just says "Under the Sun." So I'm going to just call it "Under the Sun." Are you guys happy with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I have to.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the last song.
Yeah. That's all I know it is.
Yep. It's the last song.
Every day comes and goes. Yeah.
And it does seem like a journey, this song, more so than probably. It's like Simon alluded to it, then IME come in with riffs and they try and make it all match together. Kind of feels like that to me. It's a cool, haunting riff. It's got that horror movie sort of sound to it to me. It used to scare me a bit as a younger dude, like it I thought, ooh, what, sort of, if you were in a dark room listening to this, it'd be like, ooh, this is a bit spooky. I wonder what's that feeling on my shoulder, The bass line at the start, there's something a little bit off to me. I don't know if you guys picked this up or not. There's something a little bit off. It's maybe not sitting right for the riff, or there's an off note. I didn't give it too much attention, but I listened to it 2 or 3 times through and I went, there's something not sounding right there. Maybe that was intentional. Maybe you guys can, allude to something else there or whatever in the song. I like the guitar line where the band stops and in the interludes. It's a very cool idea. 2 minutes into the song, it takes a whole new direction. It's up tempo. I love the drum fills. The vocal melody floating over the riff is fantastic. Then there's another drum fill that leads to 2 new key changes and a guitar solo. Right? So the solo is great. And then after the solo, it goes back to the original in classic Black Sabbath fashion. It could get confusing if you were not aware of what Black Sabbath were and what they did. This song would confuse the hell out of you, in my opinion. So if you weren't familiar with Black Sabbath and this is the first song you heard, you'd be like, what are they doing? Like they're all over the place. That being said, I love this about Sabbath. So I'm not knocking it. I absolutely love this about Sabbath, how they would, like I said in the first song, they'd go off on a beaten path and they'd take on a muddy road, dips, little jumps, and then they go back on the bitumen, straight back going 100 k's an hour, just 100 mile an hour. That it's just fantastic how they managed to do that. Those 2 key changes are great in the solo. Then the next stop, there's like an ascending guitar line into yet another new direction at 4 minutes. Classic IAME solos up next. And then there's 2 solos interweaving together, which is very similar to War Pigs. And I picked up a War Pigs vibe at the end of this song. I listened to this song, guys, probably 10, 12, maybe more times to give my ranking on this song because I had to make sure I knew what I was ranking because I was confused a little bit. I'll give it that. I'm going to give the song a 9 out of 10 for me, strictly and utterly because I love how Sabbath can pull off that stuff, and I don't think any other band could do it the same. I love the outro little solo that IAME does in it. I love those little ascending guitar lines. There's little parts in it. Not a big fan of the way the song starts, but it finishes on a high note for me. But I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because there's that Black Sabbath class to me that they managed to do so well. Simon, I may have confused you guys with my rankings there, maybe. I don't know. But
you know what? No, it's My notes say the same, Brad, as yours. I was like really funny. I'm reading my notes, going, "Oh look, Rad's yes, all because that's what I noted as well. There's the key change, all those, the change of riff, put another riff in, and then do something else. Yeah, it is classic Sabbath in one song, isn't it? What Sabbath do in 5 minutes, and 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I like the lyrics as well. The lyrics as well, kind of quite
Yeah.
quite sort of cynical lyrics about don't want the commercial world, or don't want religion ruling my life stuff. It's quite as they say, something to say. Yeah, it's a 8 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. I think it's a really strong ender to the album. I think it's as you say, you've got to be careful though to stick it where it looks like you're just sticking things together a bit for the sake of it. I've got all these things. We're going to put them through. I've got all these ingredients. I'm going to throw them all in the pot when actually I need to do quite so. So I think yes, that possibly one or two less things might have made it a bit smoother. But 8 out of 10, never a skip. A really strong end to the album for sure. Andrew.
I'm going through some changes. Yeah, look, guys, I love this song. I love it. I was lucky enough early on to be surrounded by some Black Sabbath nuts who could give me a little bit of a commentary and on it. And I remember a few Black Sabbath guys saying, "Go and listen to this song. Listen to this song first." I get where Brad was going when this woo Black Sabbath vibe going on. I get that, because that's one of the great things about, like I said at the intro, with Black Sabbath. It was like serious music. It was taking a step into something that was like not pop music, Simon. It was
Yeah.
this was something. And when you're 13, 14, 15, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a rite of life. I loved this song because of that complexity, and I thought they were really, really great musicians, because I was looking at pictures of Black Sabbath back in the day, and they didn't look, we put the photos up, but long hair, mustaches, missing fingers,
I saw that, Mr. Possum Finger. Yes.
chubby front man, going boo to people on stage. It was, and then you'd hear a song like this, and it was like, oh, okay. Look, I love the song. It's one of my personal favorites. It's never a skip. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, and definitely a highlight. It's a highlight to the album, and it makes sense. All of side 2 makes sense for me with this last song.
Yeah. And this song could not be put anywhere else on the album but the last song.
Guaranteed 100%.
Yeah.
It's got bookending really great tracks, isn't it? Snowblind and Under the Sun. Really, really good bookends in song. And then there's stuff in the middle.
The only reason I gave this a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10, is because I ranked some of the other ones 10, and I just thought this one sat where it did, and that's what I did. But I agree with you, Andrew. It's this song, but I still don't think you could play this to someone who's never heard Black Sabbath before.
Oh, no. And that's been a real bastard, isn't it? If you give this album to someone and say, go and listen to this last song on side 2, like people used to do with Revolver. Go and listen to the last song on side 2, first.
Tomorrow never knows. Yes.
Yeah. And that's good advice, Yeah. But if you went and did this, it would be like, yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's a great album, and I think overall, it's on this in say top, it would be my top 5 Sabbath albums, but not my top 3.
No, and No, and I agree with you. And I think Mark Tanner made a comment earlier in the chat that he was really surprised that we're doing this album. I'm interested that you would make that comment, Mark, because I see this album and this band in that British electric blues kind of, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, I see them in that vein, Simon and Brad. Look, Brad, it's not my favorite favorite Black Sabbath album, but it's up there. I love it. I love the album, the artwork. Is it? It'll be in my top 5 Black Sabbath albums, not my top 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Brad, from a playing point of view, I mean, you said you've jammed along a lot to this. I mean, it's a difficult question. This, but how much of the blues do you think there is in this?
Riff-wise, they were just writing riffs that sounded cool. I don't think there was a blues orientation.
Not in that bit, but in the solos.
In the solos, Iommi definitely used a lot of blues runs and stuff like that. And earlier, like the first Sabbath album has got a lot more blues playing in it. And I think as Tony went on, his playing changed a bit. On this album, he he did mention that he thinks that they jumped too fast from Master of Reality to this album. There was too much of a change. But I think maybe that was part of just who they were as musicians. And I think Tony was developing as a slightly different sort of player by this point. But he goes back to War Pigs on that last track, like I alluded to in a little outro solo. And he clearly even phrases some of the lines identical to War Pigs, the outro solo to War Pigs, where the 2 guitar solos are doing the interweaving. So, yeah, to answer your question, there's blues playing in it, but the riffs are definitely not blues orientated. They're a little bit more, and that's one thing that's so amazing about Black Sabbath. They really were fairly much innovators because they weren't really copying blues artists from the past. They were listening to their other bands at the time that were influences, and they're open about it more so now than probably back then. Zeppelin were relevant. You're talking the sort of early 70s. Cream were just breaking up. Hendrix had passed away. The Doors were just finished in 1970. Beatles had just broken up. So that early period of the 70s, it was that changeover period for music. And by this time, where Black Sabbath had recorded Volume 4, for example, back in, they released this, what was it, 72? 72? Yeah, I said 72, yeah.
74. No, 74. This is
Black Sabbath album Volume 4.
Volume 4, 73, sorry, 73.
73 or 72. I thought it was 72. Anyway, it's still...
Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm thinking the reading.
Still very early in the 70s. So you've got a lot of that.
Tomorrow's Dream was released in 72 as a single.
Right, okay.
No, but the actual album didn't come out to 73.
So all I'm getting at is there were, those influences are there, but I feel like they changed direction of music a fair bit on their and that Birmingham roots of, and they were quite open about how they wanted to be a bit different. They didn't want to sound like other bands. They wanted to come out and, the whole dark thing was a theme that they thought would work for them, and it did.
Yeah, look, I agree with Mark Tanner. I'm not a huge Black Sabbath fan. I like Black Sabbath. I would rather, I'm a Led Zeppelin nut. You know what I mean? That's where I situate where I am. But I love Black Sabbath, if that makes sense. Heaven and Hell, the album that they did with Ronnie James Dio, is probably my favorite album. Black Sabbath albums, so because they were doing things a little bit differently, and we discussed this on the Bro Show, didn't we, where they started bringing in some melody and some lyrical content, made it sound quite interesting, and we were going on journeys, with the songs, Simon, which is really important for us when we're just sitting there listening to albums. It's really important. So no, I wasn't having a crack at you either, Mark. But certainly Black Sabbath are in that groove, aren't they? With what our channel's about. And a cool album cover. I'm going to keep saying that.
Well, thanks guys for letting me pick that album. It's obviously not a it was like well, at some point we're going to do volume 4 anyway, and that I just so
yeah.
Well, we're not
so
going to tell anybody what we're going to do next week, because what's the story, guys? Next week's album releases done through Instagram stories. Is that correct, Brad?
Yep, we'll share it through Instagram stories. So get in there. We can check to see who's been looking at our stories, which is great. That's why we're doing it, because we want to be able to connect with you guys on that level. So that's great for us. But obviously the cat will be out of the bag by tomorrow.
Oh, blasphemy! Dog pass said it's blasphemy. Look, Look, we really, really appreciate your guys' comments, and you guys know that because you join us every week and we acknowledge them and we talk about them. And Mark, Tanner, you guys, and Dog Pa, you're all experts. You guys are fans just like us, and your insight is just as valuable as Brad's and the Rock Professors. We really, really dig it. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I think what I like to say is that the great thing is that Ellen and Teresa and Helen Winter have been saying that Ellen rather, they've been saying that they quite often they'll listen to they're haven't listened to an album, and after this show they'll go back and listen to an album with a slightly different view of it, which is fantastic. And if that happens, if you go away and just re-listen to an album and get a different view of it, then I think that's that's fantastic. Really, that's a hit in my books.
But that's exactly why I like it, John. That's exactly why I like it, because you've got Black Sabbath Volume 4 and you got just love it.
I mean, okay, well, for me, I just think the album cover is cool because it's a cool image of Ozzy, and I think that just represents the band at that point in time. I enjoy it for that reason. But the other thing is too, I love listening to you two, your analysis of the songs and the rankings. So I go back and when I listen to the album again, I go, oh, that's right, that's what Simon said. Oh, and that's what that rat bag Andrew said about that, my favorite song. And then I go back and I listen to it for that reason, and I hear it, and I'm hearing from a different perspective. So it's great, and hopefully that's what it does for you guys in the chat there and the people watching later.
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let a couple of cats out of the bag. On the 5150 show, we have a show lined up with the Rev, and Brad and I with the Rev are going to go through and we're going to rank the tracks on balance. Now, the reason why we need to do that is because it's one of the Rev's favourite albums, and we never did that with him. We did that with Steve Anderson, Brad and myself. And we've been forced. We've been beaten up. We've been kicked in the short and curlies.
The proverbials.
So yes. So we're looking forward to doing that. But I'm going to make a commitment here to my co-hosts and to you guys in the chat. I'm not going to go and re-watch that show. I can't remember my rankings because my notes are gone. And I'm going to go and I'm going to re-rank that album without watching it, guys. So, and then I'm going to go back when I've got a spare 3 hours and go back and compare my rankings, because we've said this before, haven't we, Simon? Our rankings can change. It's something that it's not always fixed in concrete.
Yeah,
no.
I'm looking forward to that too, because I do the same, Andrew. Like after I finish the show, most of my notes now are done electronically. I don't save them because I ever think if I have to go back and make another analysis on the track, I'm not going to do it the same. I'll do it different. So there you go. But thanks, guys, for indulging me with this record. I've really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed listening to you guys give your rankings.
Yeah. I, in
And I
contrast,
appreciate it
don't throw
because
any
we're
of
very
my
lucky.
notes away.
Sorry, both of you guys.
No, I don't too. I've got them. And I've got some digital notes here too. But yeah, I've got to go and find. Yeah, but the point that I'm going to say is I'm not going to go back and renegotiate my notes. I'm going to go back and do that show, and it's more of a exercise for myself to see, where I ranked certain songs, just about a year ago, Simon, as opposed to listening to it again. But very, very lucky to have the in-depth analysis again provided to us by Brad. Brad's succinct breakdown to each song is remarkable, and we're very lucky to have that here on our channel, and also the Rock Professor as well, giving that track-by-track analysis. What we offer here, I'm going to pat ourselves on the back. It's pretty unique. It's hard work that we do. It's a lot of listening, and it's a lot of writing, and but we do it because we love it, don't we, guys? We're doing it because we want to share these couple of hours with each other and all you guys in the chat. And if anyone else thinks what we're doing here is valuable, interesting, or even entertaining, please share what we do.
I can't say it any better than what you just did, Andrew Song, and I just say thanks to everyone for joining us and being part of the show. And please, keep doing what you do, just showing up and giving us your analysis in the chat. And shouts out to Warren again. And guys, thank you so much.
He's not happy. He's not happy, bro. He's not happy.
Oh, why?
Well, because he's been and he's been annoying me while we're doing this show. He's just
Warren
been a pain in the back. Yes, he's been annoying me.
Why isn't he in the chat?
Well, because he's watching the rugby. He's watching All Blacks beat the Wallabies up.
Right.
And the sacrifices I do too, because I would be watching that, but I'm here with my co-hosts, and I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to tell you guys what the score is. It's not very. I think it was 33 something. Oh my gosh, bloody Australians! that 38-21. Oh, okay. So the Wallabies came back and scored a few tries, but my Australian friends. Oh my gosh, it's a long time before you win a game. Okay, Simon.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to get you to say goodbye if that's okay. And
that's fine.
We won't talk.
He stopped again
because Simon's going to talk about
proper things.
Did something to the All Blacks, and see, I just put my
You've done it. Anyway, we'll say thanks to look, Johnny Bean's having a Johnny Bean raid as we're about to go. So good morning, Johnny. Hope you're good. I was watching you earlier. Thanks, Ellen. Take care. Mark Tanner, Helen Winter. Cool Music Tech. I'll check out my Instagram after we've done this. Cool Music Tech, and accept your thing. That'd be great. Teresa, of course, Teresa. John said D351. Good to see you, man. Thanks for all your comments. The Dogper, the mighty Dogper. Excellent stuff. Arvin, of course. Oh, we got no Nelson today. So good morning, Nelson. Hope you're good, man. Probably fell asleep in the backyard. John, I think that's probably Simon Hospital as well. Thanks, Simon, for dropping by. Johnny Heartbreaker as well. Thanks, Johnny. Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by. He's fast asleep. So I hopefully think that's everybody. I managed to get who was commenting. So Guitar Hack as well, and Quentin. James, thanks guys for dropping by. Good to see you. I've gone off to bed.
Thank you,
I think
guys.
that's probably everybody. So thanks everyone for that. James Stewart as well. Oh, look, right at the beginning, James Stewart. And so thanks for dropping by. Yeah, thanks everyone for dropping by. Hope I got everyone. I think I have. I've gone right back to the beginning.
Awesome.
So
Cool.
good. Yeah,
Brilliant.
thanks guys for dropping by. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week.
Don't forget these Instagram accounts there. Easy. You guys got that?
Keep
You
an
need
eye
to
on
go
them.
on to Brad's story and the Rock Professor's story to find out what we're doing next week, and she's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I tell you, you don't want to miss next week's show. It's going to be part 1 of maybe 2 or 3. So it's, yeah. And you know, when we start breaking shows down to 2 or 3s, that, oh boy.
So much work. So much.
Boy.
Oh. Bye-bye. Stay safe,
See you
everyone.
guys.
Take care all. Bye.